Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of PSTV. It's your co-commission, a special guest in the house today. We have Travis in the house. Hey, what's up, Trav?
What's up, everyone?
And
Here from
Trav, oh
my
yeah,
flock, my nest.
oh my God, all the birds. Well, I'm flying high with the segment that Travis has suggested today. He said, it'd be crazy if we went back and looked at our rookie draft and figured out what would be different. Maybe some teams reached on some players, maybe some values have changed over the course of the season. And he just wanted to reinvestigate how that draft went. So Co-Commish and I are gonna be reacting live to Travis's mock. So Eli, you ready?
I think so.
I,
See how
I hope we
everyone
don't
did.
I hope we don't get roasted. All right, Trav, go ahead
Too
and
So we
take
hard, yeah.
drafted all the way back in April. It is now November, so obviously things have changed. I just did a little redraft. It's going to have the same draft order, same draft picks. So, Co-Commish, you actually had a lot of picks in this draft, so you'll be in here a lot.
Oh yeah.
Obviously,
Next year
hindsight's
too.
2020. This is this is taking out of account a lot of things we thought we knew going into the draft and more performance, but also still some like draft capital and hype and trade value. I used keep trade cuts, dynasty values just to keep myself honest and be a little objective. So, and current situations too. So we can go ahead and get into it. Let's go into round one.
All right, here it is.
Obviously, number one was B. John Robinson. He still has that hype. It's not gone. He hasn't really like performed these huge numbers we thought he might, but it's been very steady, very 15 points a game. He's not having those like 30-point games, but it's been steady. You can't really, I feel like you can't not draft him number one. The hype is still there. It's really interesting after that. So I'm going to kind of leave y'all. I made this list. I got Puka number two. That is your pick, Kokamish. How do you feel about that?
I agree with that, man. I think
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah.
I really do agree.
You kind of do.
Puka's gone off, dude. Like based on need, right? I definitely know that I needed a wide receiver two, at least to complement Jamar Chase. And I was hoping for Jackson Smith. I do see that you slided him down 6 spots, which I mean, I agree with. I think he's the future of the Seattle franchise. But Puka Nacua is, I mean, right there with
It's the
Jackson
future and the now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the now, exactly. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you have three too. So like I made the reaction because it's just shocking for Puka to be two after going undrafted.
Mhm.
But it's probably right. I mean, the
Yeah.
usage is there, the role on the team is there. It's a good team. There's touchdown upside. Like I don't see why he wouldn't produce going forward. So it's I think that's the right call. And
I mean, he
then
feels like the next Cooper Cup, right?
pretty much.
Basically, yeah. And I guess I want to interject there. And if you were to use a QB argument, I think Matthew Stafford is going to be there at least another good year or two, and Gino will as well. So I think quarterback wise, it's
Wash
fairly
there.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So the teams are on roughly the same trajectory. So really, I mean, Puka just stepped up there for that, and I do believe he's at number two spot.
What about Sam? Because you got mock Sam.
Dude, Laporta, I still had a shot at him in the third round, which is so
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah.
And um,
You went Chase
So
I,
Brown.
I yeah, and I went Taze Brown. I was trying to remember who I got. So that's a little upsetting, but I do agree with Laporta being at the number three spot there. I think he would have
so
definitely slotted in there. Go ahead.
by KTC rankings, if you go tight end premium, Sam Laporta is actually ranked as the number one tight end in all of Dynasty right now, and the number two rookie of this class behind B. John. And I
Shit.
looked at your roster. You might be a tight end away from like being in that sixth play-in spot, sixth
Mhm.
playoff spot. So I kind of figured, you're really filling a hole there. You're getting a young guy who's going to be good for a while.
Mhm.
I think he might be a little like I'm personal opinion, think he might be a little more TJ Hawkinson than Travis Kelsey, but even then you're getting like a beginning of his career guy producing that level.
Yep.
That's
Mhm.
that's huge.
Dude,
Yep.
I remember the day after the draft, like seeing that particular pick being, I want Laporta, I want Laporta. then going on like fantasy footballers, going to all of these experts, and rookie tight ends don't
Don't
produce.
produce.
Rookie tight ends don't
That's
produce.
all we
I
heard.
kept
Yep.
staring at that and I was like, fuck, I should have just picked up Laporta. I know that was a position of need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more note about those two picks. Bad Wolf has both those guys.
I was thinking
Bad
the
Wolf
same
had
thing.
one pick in our draft, and he got both those guys. His pick
Both,
was
yeah.
307, and he got
Jeez.
like in a redraft what would be 102 and 103. It's kind of frustrating.
Hey man, that's why he's where he's
How
at,
it
where he's
goes.
at now.
And turned
Yeah.
his season fucking around too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is sitting pretty.
So I got 4 and I got Devon A Chain.
That's
I
one that could go either way between him and Gibbs.
Yeah, and 2, you said you would use roster construction to break some ties. I think I would lean between the two. If I was going running back, I would lean Gibbs because of the injuries for A Chain so far. But I
That's
can't. I
fair.
mean, I can't knock the production. I mean, he produced like a monster when he was there. So it's
Mhm.
like it's just the way that I manage a team. I'd rather have the floor of Gibbs, and then
Super fair.
the other thing is like I don't need a running back. So if I was doing the pick over again, I'd consider Zay Flowers like long and hard for my pick at 4 when I originally got him at 8. But it looks like I get him at 8 anyways. Never mind. I will just have
Yeah, part
Gibbs.
of the concept here too was I think you could maybe take into account that like no wide receivers. I mean, Puko's off the board, but you still got the big three of Addison, JSN, and Flowers on the board here. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking that maybe you think that they'll fall to you at 8. That was kind of my logic there, and it did happen. We got Zay Flowers at 8. I almost gave him to you at 4 because I know you love the Ravens offense.
Yep.
Didn't do that. I gave myself JSN. That was tough over Addison and Flowers, but I got the Birds team. I feel like I'd go with the Bird. I don't need the immediate producer. The long term play felt like it was good for me. And here I'm missing out on A Chain and Gibbs. Richardson, a little Chubb. It is one QB, meaning that you're looking for a top 10 quarterback if you can draft a quarterback. He took Bryce Young here.
Yeah.
I'm not really convinced Bryce Young will ever be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Anthony Richardson absolutely has those tools,
Yep.
despite the injury. He's kind of in a rebuilding phase. You have Anthony Richardson next year going in and be looking real good if he made that pick. That was my thought there. And then, Addison Flowers have both produced. Josh Downs is kind of the other one that snuck up here. He's also really produced this season. And yeah, that's basically what I went with round 1. If y'all don't have any more thoughts, we can move on to the next round.
Let's see. Only thing
Mhm.
is love A Rich, loved him coming into the draft. Jay Molly broke my heart. I'll say that over and over again.
A Rich would have been a great pickup for Little Chubb. Like everybody,
Yeah.
I don't know. He was pretty reckless this rookie draft,
Damn.
and I think he was really reckless, man. And definitely A Rich was always, especially like with experts, right? They were always projecting Richardson had the intangible to be a top 10 quarterback. Bryce Young and shoot, even with CJ Stroud, who I think we're going to talk about later. Um, like they're top 2 QBs, but they just didn't go to the right
Situation.
teams, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Speaking of
going
CJ
into round
Stroud.
2, Charbonnet actually went to Little Chubb at 110. I moved him back a pick here. And in fact, I actually think I would have taken Spears over him in a vacuum, but I gave myself
Mhm.
Charbonnet because I have that Kenneth Walker, that premium handcuff. And you notice I actually made that trade. I traded Tajay Spears for Zach Charbonnet
Yep.
because of the handcuff
Mhm.
situation. But I think in a vacuum, I actually would have put Spears above Charbonnet just because of the situation. I don't know that Derrick Henry to be there much longer. And then CJ Stroud moves up 5 spots, but goes to the same spot. He goes to Kokamish. Goat King also gets Rashee Rice in the same spot he actually drafted him. So a
So he
couple
nailed
picks
that
like
pick.
that
Yeah.
here.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaning you won that pick. You got the perfect guy for your spot. Nish gets Dalton Kincaid a
At
little bit
his same.
earlier. Sorry, 3 picks later. He picks
Oh
Spears
yeah.
where he picked Kincaid, but still gets Kincaid at 15. Tony with the Texans fan connection. You get Tank
Yeah.
Dell.
would have been hard
Quentin
to
Johnson was
deny.
a hard one because he's a real life first round pick, meaning he has all that value and like needs to go somewhere, but he's just not produced at all yet in a
Yeah.
situation
He's
where
been
he probably
terrible.
should be producing. You have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, I slammed. I mean, for whoever I talked pre-draft with, I slammed cute Quentin Johnston all up and down like before the pre-draft process. The catch radius is too small for how big he is. He doesn't catch with his hands. He's like a concentration drop guy. Like I didn't see it with him besides the athleticism. So I wouldn't even touch him still in that second round. Because if I could trade him, sure. But I think even though he's a first round pick, nobody's trading for him. So it's just I'm burning the pick. I'm forcing myself to sit on the guy until he does something that I can trade him. But it's too long term of an investment for me, so I wouldn't touch him in the second round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to agree with Tony there. Quentin Johnston just has not produced. Um, he doesn't have what's his face anymore. Because he went out.
Mike Williams.
What was his name? Mike Williams, right?
Yeah.
Mike Williams is out. I mean, you would think Quentin Johnson has a chance. It turns out to be Josh Palmer. Now, Josh Palmer is out, or am I right there? Is Palmer or
Palmer is the
no?
one who's been playing, and
Yeah,
I think
but
he's
now he's
questionable.
out.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
now
out.
he's
Out.
potentially, and Quentin Johnson still hasn't performed, right? I was there with you there with I don't think Quentin Johnson can catch a ball. There was already those issues. I also had the thought. I mean, you know who he reminded me of Jalen Reagor, right? Coming out of TCU, like that
Mhm.
was always one of those things that it's tough to even
Couldn't
trust in
shake it.
Quentin Johnston. Maybe he steps it up. Maybe he goes to the same camp as Deontay Johnson, right? But as a second round pick, I think that's too high. I think you put him in the third round just because he has that first round pedigree. But that's yeah.
And maybe too, this will clear up when we see round 3, because in my head I was like, I think that at the end of round 1, I was like, I think that's right, but is there a guy or two I would switch in? And then we go to the next slide, and I'm like, nope,
Mhm.
round 1 is exactly right. I wouldn't put any of these guys above any of those guys.
Mhm.
So I will probably that's going to be the exercise we do on the next one. Once we get to slide 3, am I like, well, who would I take over Quentin Johnston? And then that's where I'll be like, well, fuck, maybe I would take him in the second.
He
Like if I was at
yeah,
at
that's true.
210
That's
and it
true.
was like, who am I going to take at
Mhm.
210 besides him?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
other initial reactions, you got me. I have a blind spot for teams that I like, so I definitely would have taken Tank Dell there.
Also for
Um,
me, I was actually eyeing Dalton Kincaid in that CJ Stroud at that 13 spot. I was hoping he was gonna fall. He'd been falling in mock drafts. But the moment that Nish went up there, I was like, oh, this guy he doesn't need another fucking tight end.
no shit.
That's fair.
You were like, I
Yeah,
got him.
I did want Stroud. I did like Stroud coming out of the draft.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad I was able to pick him up in that 18 spot. I was also eyeing Roshan. It was unfortunate that it was one of those that I just couldn't get everyone I wanted, right? So
Yeah.
Value wise, KTC has Stroud as number 10, the number 10 rookie in one QB. So
Mhm.
you're getting good value getting them there. I just kind of, looked at QBs and thought that everyone felt pretty good. The only person might be Jay Molly at 9. Could have took Stroud instead of Richardson, but I
Mhm.
gave him the positional player.
Okay,
But
let's see. Let's put our medals to the test to see if in slide 3 we would take anybody over. Let's do these 4. Well, no, I think Roshan I'm pretty comfortable with. So
yeah, Roshan went a little small, like almost low there. I like him still. He's been hurt. Though, I mean, sometimes it's like they've been hurt, but that doesn't mean they're good. Like
yeah.
we just have some unknown
Yeah,
baked
yeah.
in.
Well, yeah, what are we putting in that, oh, if he wasn't hurt, he would have got 15 points. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Though, I mean, I have a
Mhm.
blind spot. He's a hometown guy. I'm always gonna root for my hometown guys.
All right, let's see. Let's see if anyone sneaks in above that second half of that round.
Looking at the list, it's I mean, you don't see it right now. I have it pulled up next to me. It's not this list right here is a bunch of guys that people got for free. A couple of people that were drafted for sure. Tank Bigsby was drafted, I think, a little bit higher in the real draft, and he still has that like potential. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, he was drafted a little lower.
No,
Um,
Bigsby was lower. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
eyeing that, and I took Chase over Tank over
Or
Laporta.
Laporta.
mm.
Yeah.
Dude, Laporta was one of
Michael
those
Wilson
guys.
was undrafted. I have him going kind of high here. He's done pretty well. You could argue
Hmm.
Marvin Mims or Mingo over him though. Um, Jalula McLaughlin was a hard one. I feel like there was a teardrop maybe after Bigsby because McLaughlin's an undrafted rookie, but he's produced so far. He's averaging like a lot of yards per carry. And Kokamish, you went a lot of running backs in the draft, and that was kind of the best running back on the board. So that's was my thought
Yeah.
process giving you McLaughlin here. Um, and then I gave myself Hyatt. I still think there's some potential as a field stretcher there if they can get like a solid number one guy in there. I think they have kind of a makeup and a quarterback situation that makes sense. But he has definitely like kind of dropped you at 209. And the last few picks actually
Mhm.
shape up kind of similar. Mayer instead of Laporta at 27 to Bad Wolf. And
Mhm.
then we got Luke Musgrave in the same spot. Jonathan Mingo going a little chub with that second round. I mean, he was, I believe, a second or third rounder in the real draft. He's still going to go kind of high there and, potentially connect. And then auto drafted Will Levis at number 30 there. I think he wanted to back up to Mahomes, which is fair. He doesn't really have a good one. I gave him Bryce Young just for the draft capital pedigree. But Will Levis
Mhm.
just went off fantasy wise this week. So
Yeah, I was about to say
that,
Will Levis
there's a
last
debate
week.
there.
Well, Trav, pick 25 and pick 29 are both Jonathan Mingo. So
Oh, I
maybe
missed that. That was a mistake.
well, I was gonna say if you want to slide in Will Levis right at 29,
So I gave Lil Chubb Anthony Richardson already, but there's a world where like he might take Bryce Young there just to like have some stability with Richardson's injury because we are doing this from like a
Mhm.
today
Mhm.
thing. DeMarcado would probably be the other guy I might mock to him just to give him some running back depth. He's
yeah.
actually performed pretty decent. Trey Palmer's shown a few flashes. That's another thought there. If we're gonna go wide receiver.
I'll tell
Um,
you right now, I wouldn't take these guys over Quentin Johnson, and I don't like Quentin Johnson. So again, the exercise works because
Yeah.
I I'm interested in some of these guys, the receivers mostly. But like none of them, I mean, like Michael Wilson to me's got empty numbers. Like I watched the production and I watched the way that he attacks his routes, and I don't see the player that I think other people see. Mims is like in hell his situation, so I can't even really say whether or not I think he's good because they don't play him, which is bad. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, as bad as this is, if the tiebreaker is who got the better investment, QJ did. So no, I'm there with you.
mhm.
Um, I mean, I like Musgrave probably too much over more people, but I mean, I wouldn't take him in the second. So yeah, I think I agree. I think you nailed
Mhm.
it. Kokamish, what about you? Are you taking Jaleel McLaughlin, or is there somebody down that list a little further you're like you would eye over him?
Over Jaleel? No, I think that's fair. I think Jaleel McLaughlin deserves that RB pickup because I mean he's really been performing, and that's with a fairly healthy Williams. So yeah.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on those four guys at the bottom that were drafted in our draft, and I'm now calling should be undrafted? Any guys in there that's a
Yeah,
hot take?
dude. It's unfortunately because both of those, I think Lil Chubb picked
Lil
up,
Chubb
right?
picked two of
With
the
that
four.
Zach Evans and Kishon
Yeah,
Booty. Booty more for the name. He did have that pedigree um coming out of college, but unfortunately that's I mean that sucks. Zach Evans, I mean, he had his opportunity, he had his touches. He was definitely I think they picked up Royce Freeman and
they got Daryl Henderson
Darnell
back. Yeah,
Henderson. Yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
what does that say about Zach Evans? Um,
he went
Future
early.
with the program, so it'll be interesting. But then again, I
Yeah,
mean, rookies really just need to work on the blocking, and that's I think what it comes down to with rookie running backs. So
I
I
maybe
got
he
Cedric.
could, yeah,
Good.
good.
I was gonna say I got my own guy in there, Cedric Tillman. I'm not mad at that pick for myself. He's just not a
Mhm.
guy that's going to do anything this year.
Yeah.
I think when that receiver room clears out, and they did just trade Donovan People-Jones, so it's already
Yeah, I
clearing
saw
out a
that.
little
Yeah.
bit.
Gravy.
That I mean, if they figure out their quarterback situation, I don't know what's up with this Sean. Maybe he's not getting massaged anymore, so it's going wild. But
Yeah, dude.
I don't hate that pick, but I think in this draft with the redraft, he almost has to be a top waiver wire guy and not a guy you pick.
I punted, poo-pooed, whatever you want to say. I downgraded all four of those guys. That pays off. Not that I nailed like every player and every pick and I knew everything, but like at least I know those guys were going to suck. So, but if you had
Mhm.
asked me, is Sam Laporta like everybody and Puka Lacua going to be as good as they were? I got those wrong too. Even though I liked them a little bit, I didn't like them that much.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. So, first off, Trav, really appreciate you coming on and putting together this
Thanks,
mock
Trav,
draft
dude.
for
That was
us or the,
awesome.
the redraft for
Yeah,
us.
feel free to send hate mail if you made you mad. I want it fuels me.
Little Tub will definitely drop your petty, and I hope you stub your toe in the chat. So kudos to everybody. Give Trav some credit in the comments for that. Power ranks, just to run through them real quick, guys, because we gotta wrap up the show today. But not a lot changed. You see in 3 spots, no change. Trav with another explosive game. The upside's really high, so I'm going Trav up 2, and then everybody just shifts down 1. Not a big change. And then matchups and pick'ems, those are them on the board. You guys can feel free to look through. We'll keep count going, and that's it for the week, guys. So please give us some feedback if you like the extra segment this week. We made it the focus because we thought it was really interesting, and we'll be back to normal next week. And anything else, Kokamish?
No, just like, subscribe, follow. Thanks a lot, Trav, man.
Thanks, Rad.
Yeah, no problem.
Peace,
Feel
everyone.
free. I'll debate it with you in the comments section if anyone's
he,
interested.
he wants to smoke.